In English, sorry, in Greek.
Ga je broodje halen voor ons?
So the 1st of May of 1886 in Chicago was the start of a series of strikes and the struggle for workers' rights. That fight and many others to come were met with repressive violence and murderous intent of the state. It is still honored today as a symbol of the struggle against the inherent inequalities of the capitalist system, against the oppression of workers and the working class worldwide, against wage slavery. It is a day of international solidarity among workers all over the world, because independent of race or sex, we are the oppressed of this system that wants us to live like slaves and work like interchangeable cogs for its machinery. More than a century after that day, and despite the victories and defeats of the workers' movements through history, this message is more than relevant today. Today, global capitalism is in a crisis, and we are met with the system's effort to adapt and reform itself, its efforts to emerge victorious against all of us, against the oppressed of this system. Today, once again, we are met with a violent lash out of capitalism all over the world. In the US, the American nightmare of inequality is becoming a reality. Cities are separated by barbed wire walls, creating a safe bubble for the rich white, while the poor are left in the slums. It's not just racism, it is a class war. The poor are being put into prison or shot if they are black, and made into presidents if they are rich. In the south of Europe, in Italy, Spain, Portugal, and mainly Greece, where the neoliberal austerity policies have been imposed in the most radical and brutal manner. In Greece, where for the last 5 years we are being saved by the IMF and the EU, where in 5 years the austerity policies imposed have led to a loss of 25% of the national GDP and wage cuts of 30%, where the 8-hour workday is almost non-existent as people are working for 10 or up to 14 hours a day under the threat of being fired, where workers are left unpaid for months, where 25% of working force and 50% for young adults are unemployed, where the suicide rate is increased, where an increasing number of children are underfed, where last winter 300,000 houses were without electricity and many more without heating, where a large number of people are fleeing the country to find better working conditions elsewhere, where for the past 5 years every voice against those policies was met with the criminalization of demonstrators, was met with the brutality of riot police, the propaganda of mainstream media, and the censorship of any free voice, where 5 years of austerity policies have not improved anything for the people in Greece or in Europe, but at the same time have saved the banks who are gambling with the bonds, where while the poor got poorer, the rich got much more richer. Greece is an experiment of crisis in capitalism in Europe, of tolerance towards austerity measures, an economic experiment for the capitalist system to get out of the crisis while winning its eternal war against the workers. If this experiment succeeds, more countries will follow. This is not a threat, it is a warning. We need to fight back, united, abandoning national divides. The international capital has no borders. Their only goal is to turn us all into slaves. Resist. The same policies are slowly being applied all over Europe. Some first signs are already visible in the Netherlands. The austerity policies of the Dutch government increase inequalities and lead to economic recession. All over Europe, extreme right ideas are arising again. The ghost of fascism is looming again over the world, with a pretense of nationalism in Europe and religion in Africa and the Middle East. In Ukraine, the EU supported the government, which included a fascist group, the right sector. In Greece, capitalism armed the hand of Golden Dawn against immigrants and workers, leading among others to the murders of Saksat Lukman and Pavlos Pisos. In the Middle East and Africa, where fascist groups of ISIS and Boko Haram have murdered thousands under the pretext of religious differences. We need to stand up against any fascist regime or mentality. No pasarán. 10 days ago, the Mediterranean Sea became once more the cemetery of the oppressed. In Lampedusa, more than 900 people were murdered trying to cross the border to the EU. This is only one of the massacres that have been taking place all over our borders, in the seas of Greece and Italy, in Melilla in Spain, and any other entry route into Europe. These mass murders are not accidents. They are the results of the racist and anti-immigration policies of the EU that has created an army, Frontex, to murder any immigrant worker trying to cross the borders. And if they do get into Europe, they are met with modern concentration camps in Greece, Italy, and even here, in Zeist, where a children's detention center is active. Let us end this war on immigrants. The racist discourse is being used to separate us. Local and immigrant workers need to unite, to stand together against the war of capitalism. All these are symptoms of the capitalist crisis and the effort of the system to reform itself, to change, to keep the inequalities active, to continue its war against the oppressed and nature. History has proven that the capitalist system cannot become better. It cannot change its essence. Every worker's rights and every improvement of our life pass through struggle. The struggle in the workplace, the struggle on the street, through our collective struggle and our common goals. In that sense, today, the 1st of May, we have to be together. We have to take the streets. Because every time the oppressed and the exploited of this world meet, together there's the possibility of union and solidarity of the working classes. And this union is the strongest thing that can exist, and it can win every enemy that stands in our way. The spirit of the Chicago Revolt, the message of the International Workers' Day are more relevant than ever. Sooner or later, reality will remind us that the Chicago workers who demanded and won the 8-hour workday knew everything is a conquest. Everything we want has to be conquered, and history shows that if we do not take it with our own struggle, no one will grant it to us. Today the choice is, either we will organize ourselves in solidarity, independently of national divides, independently of the state and governments, or the capital will keep ruling our lives. For a world of freedom, fairness, of political, economical, and cultural equality. Our message today is solidarity to the students and the staff of the new university who are struggling to reclaim the university. We support the claim for education and research that is not based on neoliberalism. Knowledge should be public and free for all. Solidarity to the people of Greece, Spain, and all over Europe for the struggle against neoliberalism. Solidarity to the workers who reclaim the factories, the OME in Greece, the Free Kazova workers in Turkey, the national movement of recuperated businesses in Argentina and everywhere else in the world. Occupy, resist, produce. Solidarity to all immigrants who are on their way to cross the war fronts created by the EU. We will wait for you on this side. We will break the walls together. No borders, no nations. Solidarity to our brothers, sisters, fathers and mothers in Baltimore who are faced once more with police brutality and murder. Solidarity to all the people who fight back against the rise of racism and fascism, no matter under which name and ideology it masks itself. Solidarity to the Palestinian people who after 50 years of oppression are still struggling for the right to life. Solidarity to our comrades in the Chiapas Mountain in Mexico who have shown that the war against capitalism is fought with arms and books. Solidarity to our sisters and brothers in Rojava who have defeated the fascists of ISIS, liberating Kobani, and proving that a world of equality and freedom is possible and worth fighting for. Solidarity to everyone who dreams and fights for a world of freedom, justice, political, economical and cultural equality. To all those who say, your struggle is our struggle. Hasta la victoria.
Voordat we verder gaan met een kleine intermezzo van Hardy Loco, even een mededeling voor de sprekers. Mochten jullie toespraken op papier hebben of op mail hebben en jullie willen dat ze geplaatst worden als tekst op onze website 1mei.eu, stuur ze even naar ons toe als jullie willen. Philippos, I was just telling the other guests, if you want your speech to appear on our website, please send it to our email info@1mei.eu. info@1mei.eu.
Oh nee hoor.
Hardy Loco, en daarna gaan we verder met